Welcome back. Tro and Quis show, week 4, about to get underway. T Quis, how's it going? How you doing?
Not too bad, A really exciting week three. We had a couple close games. Obviously, my team didn't perform to where I thought. I wouldn't even really say they didn't perform well. I just ran to the fucking juggernaut of the league in Matt Boss status.
Yeah, definitely is a juggernaut of the league, and we'll see where you have him in your power rankings for this week. Should be interesting. Should be some flip flopping around. We got some solid upsets this week, with two teams bottom feeders both getting wins, and that is Nathan and Chris Deal. So both of them finally have a win in their win column, which is good to see. The league is getting more competitive. We don't have anybody that's just completely out now. 0-3, that would be a shame. But we'll really quick do a quick week 3 recap, and we'll start off with Chris Deal's upset over Buzz Callahan. This is a game that we pegged last week for a Roderick sweep. I mean, we had him killing Chris, and then Buzz's team just didn't show up. So what happened to his team here?
I mean, you can just see in the box score that he only scored 77 points. Very disappointing week for Buzz Callahan. This was a week that going in, you really needed this win if you were going to make a playoff push throughout the year. These are the kind of games that are really important and crucial that you win. But I mean, Kareem Hunt, Carlos Hyde scored 59 points apiece for Deal. It's just really tough to, beat that. I mean, I know Brandon Cooks did all he can to power this team to victory, but Brandon Cooks almost scored half of his team's points, and you just can't have that. So very disappointing week for Big Johnson altogether.
Yep, that final score was 85-77. They're both 1-2 now, and they are both in the AFC. So they're both at the bottom of the AFC. Four teams tied at 1-2 in that division. So it's getting pretty close. Next game we'll do Cole and Nathan, the other upset. We had in our picks last week, we had Cole killing Nathan by like 30 points, and then Cole's team just didn't show up, only scored 96, and Nathan's team just performed really well. What did his team do to strengthen him this week?
It's definitely powered by the performances from Sammy Watkins on that Thursday night football game that everyone really wrote off, and just didn't really want to watch on prime time. Tom Brady also played well for Nathan Hensel, and also a 10 reception game from Christian McCaffrey. These three players really powered Nathan Hensel to a victory and a really massive upset against Mike Shady. Um, you can't really say that Mike Shady's team is trending down, but with a couple key injuries to players like Melvin Gordon and Crabtree, that really puts question marks on his players in the coming weeks. You really gotta take a look and just hope for the best for players like Cam Newton and Michael Crabtree and Melvin Gordon.
And yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Nathan Hensel won that game 128-96. Really strengthened by Tom Brady's 35-point performance and Sammy Watkins, like you said, on Thursday night. All right, so the next game we'll do Jake Mitchell killing, massacring Ryan Maskin in a game that was really odd. And the league now sees Jake Mitchell as a strong team. He was definitely a mid tier to bottom feeder of this league, and all of a sudden he's 2-1, tied for first in the division. Just beat Ryan Muskin, who you had as a top 3 team in your power rankings. And what went wrong for Musk? Obviously, you can look at the easy answer and say Buccaneers got him -6, but man, look at his bench. What did he do?
It's just definitely, I would say it's not a dumb play that he ended up benching Stephon Diggs. Obviously, Case Keenum isn't or wasn't up to week three a great quarterback by any means, but definitely played on his head. The Buccaneers really had a bunch of key injuries to their starting defensive unit. Stephon Diggs probably is going to be a must start the rest of the year, no matter what matchup or who's throwing him the ball, unless, someone crazy like Johnny Manziel is throwing him the rock. But other than that, I really think Stephon Diggs is a must start. You also take a look at other guys like Rashard Matthews. Definitely a big surprise this week. DeMarco Murray ripping off a huge touchdown run. It's just definitely didn't make the right plays. Even if he did make the right plays, he still wouldn't have won this week. I didn't really see anybody coming back from a 136 point outing from the team they're going against.
And Ryan Maskin's upcoming schedule is you, and then Team Hensel, and then Big Johnson, which are two must wins for him. Your game against Ryan is our game of the week for this week. So that's going to be interesting. That final score once again was 136 to 66, an absolute just slaughtering of Ryan Maskin. We'll see if he can bounce back. Next game we'll go to is my game. I guess I played Austin Rich. I won. I'm now 2-1. Austin Rich has fallen back to 1-2. But we're both in that AFC, and that AFC is getting really tight. Hopefully JP can suffer some losses to even bunch it up even more. I mean, my team. Well, I'll let you take care of it. But what I saw was my team really got a lot of strong performances. Nothing crazy, but I got enough strong performances to put me over the hump.
Yeah, usually when you see a team score upwards of 120 plus, there's really one or two players that, dropped about 25 to 30 points that week, and you really didn't have anybody that had a significant game. I mean, Drew Brees had a 20 burger, but I wouldn't even say elite for a quarterback. That's
Yeah, that's not.
it's just a good game in my eyes. You had, 12 and 13 from your running backs. Not great by any stretch of the imagination, but good enough to get the job done. Julio Jones played well. Tyreek Hill, just guys that you really expect to do well, did well.
Don't leave out
And
my
then you
boy
also
Matt
have,
Prater.
yeah, Matt Prater did really well too, but I was just going to say Sterling Shepard really had a great game. I don't know if he played on his head or what, or if they just weren't covering him, but you're going to see a lot of single coverage with Sterling Shepard this year that they have to key on, OBJ with a double team possibly, and then have to also keep an eye on Brandon Marshall. As long as Eli Manning just understands that he can't be a potato, it's just you're definitely going to have a strong team here, and you're definitely going to have a bunch of wide receiver depth.
Yeah. And just real quick, what did you see from Austin's team?
From Austin's team, you had your normal great games from Gronkowski. If he's healthy, he's the best tight end in the league, no doubt. He's going to be the best fantasy guy. He's just an all-around great core piece to have if he remains healthy, which hopefully he does. Definitely a surprise game from Dak Prescott. I expected him to regress this year, and it's not like his first two games at the beginning of the season were bad, 16 and 15, but you just really didn't see that he was going to perform really well this year again. He's definitely been a consistent quarterback, a guy that he has to start going forward. Devontae Parker, surprise guy off the bench that he could start in future weeks. A guy that has a really high target count. In week 3, he had 8 catches on 10 targets, which is very, very good
And we'll venture
for
in
him.
we'll venture into all these roster changes we think should happen in our upcoming segment as far as the week 5 look ahead. But we'll go right to the next game, I guess. Once again, I won that game 120 to 100. So pretty solid outing. Next game we'll go to Braden Callahan and JP plays through adversity. This was a close one. Braden had Jason Witten and Des Bryant in that Monday night game, and he only needed 16 points, only got 10, so he falls to JP 106 to 101. What'd you see out of this game?
Obviously, massive surprise was Derek Carr only scoring 4 points against the Redskins. That defense is not good by any stretch of the imagination. Um, it's just very disappointing. Even if he had an average week, you could have seen a different box score and lead dictator getting the victory. Dalvin Cook played really well. Doug Baldwin played really well. Nelson. I mean, these 3 guys right here combined for over 80 points. So, I mean, definitely a good, core ball club to have. Looking at JP's team, Jordan Howard, massive 30-point game. And then all the other guys really had great games other than the Ravens defense scoring -6, which if you would have asked me, Sunday morning if that was going to really hurt JP plays through adversity, I would have said yes because, you're playing a really good team in Braden Callahan. But, guys off the bench played well. You got a really good depth on your ball club heading forward.
Yep, that was a 106 to 101 victory for JP, and once again, back-to-back weeks, JP wins by less than 6 points. So he's really kind of getting through this league, and it's surprising and it's kind of impressive. But we'll see. I think let's see. Next game he's playing. He plays Austin, so we'll see if Austin has anything to compete against him. But our last game, our game of the week, for week 3. was Taylor versus Matt. Matt Bossatis versus you play to win the game. We had this as a high scoring affair, and it turned out to be a high scoring affair. But man, Matt Brem just kind of ran away with this with two 30-point performances, and that really sunk you, didn't it?
Yeah, it's just a really you gotta tip your cap to Matt Brim's team. I mean, guys really stepped up when they needed to. Um, I just as soon as on Thursday Night Football when Todd Gurley dropped 37, I knew I'd be in trouble this week because you still got guys to play like Antonio Brown. You got the arguably the best or one of the best tight ends in the league, Zach Ertz playing still. You got Golden Tater's a high the reception target guy. And it's just you know that you were in trouble as soon as that happened. And of course, there was no way. I mean, my team played well. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a
Yeah,
bad
they did.
outing. I made some mistakes, but we'll get into that later in the show. Um, it was just really, uh, I guess annoying in a way just to like see my team fall even after such a good week.
Yeah, so that's a tough one, especially when you score 113 and you could beat almost anybody in the league. But then Matt Brems, his team is just so strong, putting up 158, consecutively scoring over 110 points every week. And this was just another one, and he is now 2-1, first in the NFC, and you are 1-2, sort of at the bottom of the NFC. But of course, plenty of season left. That has been our week 3 recap, but stay tuned in the rest of the show because we got some surprises for you. We got one, maybe even two interviews for you, and you'll definitely want to hear them. They're definitely interesting to listen to, but we appreciate it, and we'll be right back.
Call me queasy, my issues so ill. My flow just goes a little too trill. When I'm on the track, my rhymes just kill.
All right, we're back from that interview. That was a great interview, very highly anticipated, obviously. And obviously now it's time to look ahead to week 4. Week 3 is all wrapped up and in the books, and week 4 is what we have next. So we will do our look aheads and our predictions for the games. Any game you want to start with first, Taylor?
I'd probably just start with some of these unappealing games. So I'm probably gonna go with League Dictator versus Team Deal.
All right, so we have Braden Callahan versus Christopher Deal, and Chris Deal got his first win last week against Roderick. And then Braden, obviously, a mid-tier to high-tier team in the AFC, a very strong team. What you want to look at the quarterback matchup first, or
Yeah, we could take a little bit a glance at these quarterbacks. Obviously, a very negative matchup for a pretty rough week this week for Derek Carr against Washington. Only scored 4 points on 118 yards and a touchdown. He threw 2 INTs, and I just don't really see League Dictator starting him again against Denver. And then if you look even further, you see that he plays the Ravens the following week. So it could be a little bit of trouble at the quarterback position for a League Dictator. Probably going to have to look at that waiver wire or go to Phillip Rivers on his bench. But even looking at Phillip Rivers, he's got a matchup against Philly, and then he's got one against the New York Giants, which the Giants aren't a good team offensively, but they're pretty stout defensively, in my opinion. So, yeah.
yeah,
Good.
obviously Chris Deal's team, we kind of predicted him to go 0-12 or 13. Obviously, that doesn't look like it happened. He beat Roderick last week, and it really wasn't even a poor performance. I don't think, if I recall correctly, that Deal has yet to score 100 points, which is, I might be wrong about that, but obviously we can get a fact checker on that. But obviously that can't sustain the whole season. Um, Looking at his quarterback position, Ben Roethlisberger, putting up double digits every week, but really nothing to really like scream about. It's pretty bad numbers, 16, 17, 11 so far. His bench has Eli Manning, who we know about the Giants' offense, even with Odell back, doesn't seem to be that great. So I don't know. He also has Andy Dalton, so he's got 3 quarterbacks on his roster, and they all 3 don't seem to be too good. But I mean, do you think? Now, obviously, he took Ben Roethlisberger in the first round with like the 6th pick. Is there any way he gets rid of him?
You can't get rid of a guy you drafted so high, and you just like thought so highly of him going into the draft. I understand that he he hasn't been playing bad necessarily. He's averaging about, I'd say, 13 points. So he scored 16 week 1, 17 week 2, 11 week 3. So around 14, 13 points. And it's not a very enticing draft pick so far, but right now he's consistent, and that's really what this team needs. Uh, I do like that he still has Kareem Hunt, which is the number one running back in fantasy. So
Yep.
obviously that's going to help your team. You need upside guys like that, but if you just look at Team Deal, you just see that there's just so many aspects that hurt him down the road. You've got Martavis Bryant, who is a real boomer bust guy, especially in PPR, where he doesn't really get that many receptions. You've got Alan Hearns, I mean, he's going to get a little bit of an uptick in targets after Robinson went down, but other than that, Austin Hooper, Mike Wallace, like none of these guys really entice me. And then you look at this bench, and there's really just not that much
Yeah.
depth to go along with it. So it's going to be a struggle for Deal to get a win. Um, as we're doing this podcast right now, uh, we see that Deal is in a real barn burner right now this week. So we'll see if he gets the W. But I'm just looking right now, and I don't really see much that he can do unless there's a big waiver claim that he picks up or like a trade that he makes for Kareem Hunt
Yeah, I
and
mean,
gets like two or three guys.
Kareem Hunt and Carlos Hyde. I mean, that's a really strong running back field for him. That's pretty much his only strength on his team. His wide receivers are arguably wide receiver twos on their respective teams, and his bench has really, I don't want to say zero talent, but I mean, you got Bilal Powell on your bench, so it's probably not that good. I mean, Braden's team is just all around better. The only deal obviously has the better running backs. Braden has Dalvin Cook and C.J. Anderson, and he also has Marshawn Lynch on his bench. And obviously, there's been a little drama going on between these teams with Braden trying to get Kareem Hunt from Christopher Deal, and the league has vetoed 2 different trades. Braden has not been too happy about that. Do you think those will keep going? Do you think there'll still be trade talks between these two, or do you think it's all water under the bridge at this point?
Yeah, obviously the league just didn't see that league dictator Braden Callahan was giving up enough for the number one running back and arguably the best player in fantasy right now in Kareem Hunt, and
I don't even think
I
it's
don't
arguably
really.
anymore.
Yeah, he's just so good. He gets so many touches. He's so valuable in a PPR league. I don't see that League Dictator will give him enough that will help both teams in a way. There's no way that League Dictator can give up, because at this point he'll need to give up Jordy Nelson and then probably a high upside, second guy like C.J. Anderson or Doug Baldwin, which I honestly don't think it'd be worth it for League Dictator just because he's got Dalvin Cook, C.J. Anderson already at his running back slots. Like there's just no point in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be up to Deal if he wants to trade him or not, I think. I mean, he's shown, obviously, that he does want to trade him, I guess. It's hard to tell because no one can contact him, only Braden can. And he's accepted Braden's trade, so I don't know if it's Braden forcing it on him or Deal actually wanting to trade him. We haven't heard anything from him. Hopefully we'll get a comment soon. We'll be looking for that. But any last things you want to say before we predict this game?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about those trades. I just I don't see how. I know Team Deal's trying to get better, but this just goes back to the articles I written before the year start, where I just said people's seasons come down to in-season management. Like you can draft a great team and be the hot shit like a Matt Brim kind of right now, but if you don't put in the work and dedication to make your team better during the season, then you can have this really good team or really bad team, and it could be even worse or just not as good as you thought it was going to be. So Team Deal's really got to make an effort to make a better trade than what he's made, because if the league did not veto that trade, Team Deal would never have had a shot the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. Man, it's hard to tell because it could just be who he's trading to is why the league's vetoing. We know Braden Callahan is the league commissioner. He doesn't have a lot of friends in the league. They don't have a lot of people that like him as far as a player. So it could just be that people don't want to see Kareem go to his team. I mean, that's obviously a scenario. We can see if Chris tries to make a deal with another team. I don't know, maybe a mid-tier team that's trying to get better, like Jake Mitchell or Cole Gibson or something like that. But definitely an interesting situation. We'll see what he does. If he can pull off the win against Braden, it will be a completely new season for Chris, winning back-to-back games, going back to 500. And it will be big, and people will definitely start to be threatened by him if he improves his team a little bit. I mean, it doesn't really take that much. He's got a lot of pieces to build with. He just gotta fill in those little pieces that he needs. But as far as matchups go, do you think Braden has the better matchups? I would say he does. He's got some people playing the Rams, people playing Indianapolis, Chicago, Detroit, Dallas. What do you think about that?
Actually, I prefer the matchups that Chris Deal has
Okay.
over the matchups that Braden has. I don't know if it's going to be enough to power through for a win for Chris Deal, but definitely you've got looks like Allen Hurns against the Jets. He's going to get plenty of targets in that offense. He could see about 7 or 8 catches, maybe get a touchdown. You got the high upside guy Martavis Bryant against the Ravens, which their secondary has looked a little bit shaky. It's not as good as their linebacking core and a couple of their corners, but I just I don't, if they can just get by those guys, I really like Martavis Bryant for maybe like a deep 60-yard touchdown throw. Obviously, I I like Ben Roethlisberger a little bit. I wouldn't say I'm gonna see him for going off for like 20 points against the Ravens, because their defense is kind of, I wouldn't say great, but
Right.
it's all right. I mean, I've seen Ben Roethlisberger underperform against really bad defenses earlier this year, so. But you got Carlos Hyde against that shaky Arizona Cardinals defense. You've got Kareem Hunt against the Redskins, which you could see him go off for another 25-plus outing. There's definitely upside in Chris Steele's team. It's just whether or not he makes the right plug-in plays this week and whether or not his team can perform to its expectations. And I just wanted to throw out one more thing, is that the Patriots defense is going against Carolina, and we know how bad Carolina's been this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to go into my projections right now, but this could be a team where I could see upsetting League Dictator this week.
Really. I definitely think it'll be a tough shot for him to do it. He has a chance. He's going to need either like Hooper, Hearns, Bryant, Mike Wallace. One of those guys need to put up like a 20-plus point game for him to have a chance. And Big Ben he has to put up at least 20. He's not going to beat Braden if he doesn't put up at least 20. So I'll start the predictions here. I'm gonna go League Dictator with a win. I think it'll be right around 100 points. I think if you look at all these guys in the past week, they've all scored right around 100 points. Deal has been like right in the 90s about every week, and Braden's been about his highest. Maybe he's been like 115. So I'm gonna go 105 to 99. Braden wins. And I just want to point out real quick, look at that Kareem Hunt game, Monday night, 8:30. That is going to be a game where Braden is shaking in his boots, because come Monday night, Braden will probably have maybe a 25-point lead, maybe a 20-point lead, and that's going to fall real quick on that Monday night game. That'll be a fun one to watch.
I just want to state this right now. This is my hot take of the week. I've got
No.
Team Deal
Oh,
beating,
gosh.
upsetting League Dictator. Kareem Hunt, Monday Night Football, is going to go off 2 touchdowns, 120 yards, 5-6 catches, a receiving touchdown. I've got Kareem Hunt going for 35 plus on
Wow.
Monday Night Football, prime time. First time that everyone's going to see him. I've got him carrying Team Deal's squad. I mentioned earlier those upside plays. I don't like Derek Carr's matchup. I don't like Phillip Rivers' matchup. I feel like he's going to have to go to the waiver wires. If not, I feel like there's a mistake. I look down and I don't like any of Braden's matchups at all. And I like Chris Deal upsetting League Dictator 108 to 104.
Wow. All right. Pretty close game. Still right around 100 points. That is definitely bold. That's an upset pick. Wow, Taylor. All right, that's ballsy starting off right off the bat with that. Let's move to the next game, I guess. Let's go to Matt Boss status versus Nathan Hensel. This is an interesting one. Most people have chalked this up as a blowout as well. Nathan did not have the strongest start. He bounced back in week 3 with a win, so he's 1-2. And Matt Boss status is, I believe, 2-1. But he's fighting right up there. He was number 2 on your power rankings last week. Nathan was second to last on your power rankings last week. And obviously the power rankings will be right after these predictions in our next segment. But let's look at the quarterback matchup. We have a tale of two very different quarterbacks here, with Matt using Russell Wilson and Tom Brady on Nathan's team, who just scored 30 points each last week. Do you see an advantage between either one of these?
Just looking at these guys, I don't really see any particular advantage. I mean, obviously Tom Brady's significantly a better quarterback. That Carolina defense has shown that they are basically going to carry this team the whole year. So I feel Tom Brady's probably going to be into the mid-teens to high teens. I don't really think he's going to go off like he did last week, where he scored, 35 points on 5 touchdowns, 378 yards. But definitely not a bad week for Tom Brady. I see Russell Wilson kind of regressing from last week. Obviously, he scored a fantasy high 32 points. I see him for probably about 12 to 13. So I don't think it's going to be a make or break for, both teams regarding the quarterback positions. It's just going to, like, other players and stuff. It's going to be whether or not McCaffrey, guys like Tevin Coleman step up for Hensel, whether or not McCaffrey can get those, 8 to 10 receptions that he got last week. And honestly, we'll probably, actually we will, we'll see by the end of the 1 o'clock games whether or not this game is pretty much over.
That's true.
Because, Team Hensel's got 8 of 9 players at 1 o'clock.
Nathan's got Amari Cooper going at 425. Everybody else at 1. And Matt Brem is a little different. Brem has the Dolphins defense going against New Orleans, which I would expect him to change that. I don't expect him to keep that. As we know, New Orleans offense can put up a lot of garbage time points. But yeah, he's got a Sunday night game and a couple midday games. I would definitely give the advantage to quarterback to Nathan. I would give the advantage of running back to Matt. Wide receiver's a little closer, because do you think Sammy Watkins is legit?
Legit as in he's gonna keep producing these monstrous week 3 totals, or legit as in he's a...
Do you think he'll keep being Jared Goff's number 1 target, number 1 end zone, red zone target, consistently put up at least 15 points a week? What about that kind of stuff?
I don't think number 1 target's the issue. I think the issue is whether or not Jared Goff can keep doing what he did in week 3, which I don't think he will. I think he'll regress. He's not obviously you can tell by his draft pick that he's not like a trash quarterback, but he's not, with these elite guys. And
so you think it's more based off Jared Goff's performance than Sammy Watkins' performance, whether Sammy Watkins does good?
I mean, just Sammy Watkins, when healthy, is, a really good, if not elite receiver in the league. And I don't really see him going off for 2 touchdowns a game every week. That's a bit absurd. I mean, I've got him pegged for a low-end wide receiver 2 with upside of a low-end wide receiver 1. But I feel most of the times consistently he's going to be in that low wide receiver 2, high WR3 area.
Okay. And then Nathan also has his tight end situation's a little kind of crazy. He's got Greg Olsen, obviously, who went on injured reserve for Carolina with a broken hand. So he's put in place Jesse James of Pittsburgh. And, I mean, I don't know if it's Nathan just loving Pittsburgh or whatever, but I expect him to keep using Jesse James. He hasn't shown any sort of sign of not using Jesse James. And Nathan's been pretty quiet on the waiver wire as well. So do you think that's something he's going to have to look at? Is Jesse James a long-term option to fill in Olsen's place?
No, I'm just not a fan of Jesse James. I don't see him doing what he did in week 1 against the Browns. The Browns were really bad against tight ends last year, and it's just correlated over to this year. Other than that 22-point week 1, he scored 9 points since then on only 6 catches for, 46 yards. And I don't think that he's going to get enough looks in that offense that focuses so heavily around Martavis Bryant, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and it's already struggling enough as is. So definitely he's going to have to go to the waiver wire. The issue is you don't really have anybody because tight end such a high commodity. Maybe a guy like Charles Clay or something who caught a
Mercedes Lewis,
touchdown.
maybe.
Maybe, but again, he's another guy like Jesse James where I just see him doing well for maybe 2 weeks,
Right.
and it's gonna be tough. Maybe I wouldn't really focus around tight end because tight end you can't really predict all the time. So
Yeah.
probably I'm gonna have to say that maybe you could like package in a deal while Christian McCaffrey's like doing really well. Maybe pack him in with Amari Cooper or something, or Sammy Watkins. Get like a respectable low tight end 1, and maybe like a RB 2 or wide receiver 2, something like that.
Now, do you think we look at Nathan's bench? Obviously, Chris Thompson is one of the kind of up and comers, if you might, breaking out for 24 in week 2, 30 for week 3. Is it time to put Chris Thompson in for Kelvin Benjamin, or maybe even in for one of his running backs?
Obviously, it's going to focus around whether or not Fat Rob plays, Rob Kelly for the Redskins. If he continues to be unhealthy, I don't really see Chris Thompson getting enough to warrant any starting nod, whether it's in your flex or RB2 slot. And if you just look at the numbers, he simply just doesn't get enough looks as is to really warrant fantasy consideration. I mean, of course, it's going to help that he's in a PPR league or that we are in a PPR league, and you get 1 point per reception. So there's definitely some value there. I just don't think there's going to be any left when Rob Kelly resumes his starting role.
Okay, so you think Chris Thompson, as far as if Rob Kelly plays, Chris Thompson is done putting up those kind of numbers?
I wouldn't say done because he's going to have, those big weeks and every now and then, and it's going to be tough, though, to tell. You can't just insert him in your starting lineup all the time and just, like, say, oh, I'm just going to risk whether or not he gets 0 points or 30 points.
But I think
you got to have consistency.
I think you'd have to agree with me that he's better than Kelvin Benjamin as far as fantasy goes, right?
As far as fantasy goes, yes, but Kelvin Benjamin right now is just in a very bad situation in that Carolina offense. His talent's definitely a lot better than what his fantasy numbers are this year. And, of course, he left that game earlier this week due to a foot. No, sorry. I guess we'll get our fact checkers on that. But he left the game earlier this week with an injured left.
Yeah, left knee.
Yeah, injured left knee. Okay, so he got an MRI. It revealed no structural damage, and the Panthers just aren't really sure whether or not he's going to play for week 4. I'd say as of right now, you probably should put Chris Thompson in over Benjamin, but long term, I don't really see Thompson being the answer. Maybe even package him in a deal, get him trade him while he's hot and get a better player.
Okay. Now look over to Matt's side. Matt obviously threatens to be number 1 in the power rankings, especially if JP has a check mark in his loss column in week 3. Now, Matt's team obviously is very strong. I don't know if he should do anything to change this week. He's got pretty favorable matchups. A lot of his team is away, however. But, I mean, a lot of these defenses he's playing are questionable or mediocre at best, and his bench isn't really the strongest. Is there any real quick things you should tell Matt Brim as far as making changes?
I don't really think he needs to make any changes. I mean, there's no way that Todd Gurley and Zach Ertz, players like that, are going to keep putting up these monster numbers. I mean, Zach Ertz, for a tight end, has put up 48 fantasy points through 3 weeks, which is just unheard of for tight ends. And you haven't heard numbers like that since Rob Gronkowski in his prime years when he was healthy every week. But, I mean, he's getting 8 receptions week 1, 5 receptions week 2, 8 again week 3. Like, he's just getting so many looks. And I just feel like defenses are going to start keying in on that. And I just think Zach Ertz is going to regress a little bit. Maybe you could possibly trade him while he's hot, but if you just look down this roster, I mean, you're gonna get your touches with Golden Tate. Like he's gonna catch, you know, 5 to 10 balls a game. You've got Lamar Miller, who I think I wouldn't say a weakness, but definitely not a strength. But he's a consistent enough player to warrant his RB2 slot where he is now. So, I mean, I like Matt Bostadis' team, and obviously, me just saying that it definitely shows in the league and throughout his scoring. And the bench is kind of weak. I don't really,
I mean, he doesn't even
not
have a full bench.
huge.
He's missing somebody on his bench.
Yeah, definitely. Like again, that's what I was saying earlier. That goes back to that in-season management that I was talking about. Even if you have this good of a team like Matt Brim, I mean, we saw it in 14 with Zach Hughes. You've got to make moves. If you don't make moves, your team will fall apart throughout the season. So, you just, Matt, if you're listening to this right now, you've got to be careful about that. You've got to pay attention more. I mean, you've got a guy who's on IR right now on your bench. You've got an empty bench slot. You've got Kerwin Williams, who's not even the third string running back. You've got Eric Ebron, who dropped 3 passes last game on his little targets that he gets. You got Boomer Bust non-PPR option Ted Ginn Jr., who only catches about 3 balls a game. It's just this bench is very weak for where Matt Brim is at in the season, and I really think that when we get to bye weeks, Matt Brim's going to struggle.
Yeah, we'll go right into predictions now, I guess. I mean, it's going to be tough for Nathan to come in here and win against arguably the best team in our league. I mean, he's going to need everybody to put up, 20 points or so. I think he's going to have to at least score 120 points to beat Matt. I mean, Matt has consistently gone over 100 points, gone even up into the 140s and 50s, which is very rare. We'll see if he can hold on, but I'm putting Matt for a victory 121 to 101.
You look at Nathan's team and, you see just players that you wouldn't necessarily want on your fantasy football team, but they're producing. And when they're producing, you can't really do much about it because you don't really know right now whether or not they're going to keep producing. Because you've got your best player, arguably, on this team, if you agree with me, is Amari Cooper. Like, by far. It's not even close.
Yeah.
But the fact is
Tom
that
Brady, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I'm talking about just skill positions, pretty much.
Yeah.
But 1 reception, 6 yards. I know Derek Carr had a bad game, but that can't happen. And then even last week against the Jets, 4 receptions, 33 yards. Like, you're gonna need production out of Amari Cooper if you're gonna have any shot throughout the year. I don't see McCaffrey and Coleman doing what they did last week. I don't see Watkins having a big game. It's going to be very tough for Hensel to win this week, and that's why I'm going to improve Matt's record to 3-1. I'm going to give him a 123 to 79 victory over Team Hensel.
Wow. All right. Wow. So 79 for Nathan. You had Nathan at, I believe, 74 last week. I don't remember, but yeah. I mean, consistently, Nathan's got to show progression for us to give him more respect in this league. And I mean, he with a win last week, will begin to show that. But yeah. So next game, you got any preference for the next game?
Again, I just want to probably focus on the non-important games and really in my eyes. So I'll probably go with JP plays Diversity against Austin Rich.
Okay. JP is looking pretty strong this week. We think JP is going to be 2-1 in week 4, but he could be 3-0. So we'll see how that happens. Obviously, when this is being recorded, it's kind of tough. And then Austin Rich is going to be 1-2. I think last in the AFC with a defeat from your boy right here. So yeah, Team Rich obviously is another team at the bottom feeder looking to grind out a playoff spot maybe. Really, I don't even think his team is that bad. I mean, it's tough. I mean, he doesn't really have everybody producing. He has like one guy producing, everybody else sucking. So it's really tough to judge. And then if you look at JP's squad, he's got all around great players.
Yeah, going to back to Austin Rich's team, I really like his RB1 and RB2 spots. I mean, Frank Gore, obviously, I think he's really looked down upon just because, he's this old guy in this, average offense, but he's consistently getting looks. He's getting, you know, 15 touches week 1, 14 week 2, 25 carries for not even touches, carries for week 3. I mean, he obviously only had 57 yards, but that touchdown really saved his fantasy week, and he's just a very consistent player in my eyes, especially for that RB2 spot. J.J. obviously had a rough week this week. Just had that hand injury early on, couldn't really get going. So he's definitely going to need him to produce, especially if he wants to, you know, compete going forward and possibly push for that 5 or 6 seed in the playoffs.
Really
He's got a
quick,
really good mess.
really
Oh,
quick
go
to go
ahead.
back to Frank Gore. You might see Frank Gore playing at Seattle in this week, and you're probably like, all right, there's no way I should start him. But if you look at Seattle's run defense this year, it's pretty bad actually, and Frank Gore has a chance to get a solid amount of yards in this game. I mean, last week against San Francisco, they let Carlos Hyde run all over them, so it's hard to tell. I mean, I would probably keep Frank Gore in. He doesn't have that many options on his bench. I mean, do you agree with that?
I really like Jaquiz Rogers,
Okay.
but however, last week kind of scared me a little bit off of him just because that offense isn't very good. I didn't really like the way Jameis Winston played, and obviously the game flow only showed that Rodgers had 5 carries, so you can't really look on that. But his guy's probably going to get 13 to 17, maybe upwards of 20 carries a game, pending game flow situations. The only thing that I have an issue with is that giant stout run D. So he's probably going to have at least a debate whether or not he's going to start Frank Gore over Rodgers, but I'm probably going to lean towards Frank Gore. But I do like Jaquiz Rodgers going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I like Austin in this matchup actually against JP. I don't think JP's success can really last like it has. Um, if you look at the defenses his team's going against, they're not great defenses. There's some pretty good defenses. Um, Ravens defense he's probably gonna have to take out going against Pittsburgh, especially how you saw them just absolutely get waxed by Jacksonville in London last week. That was just bad. So that's tough. I don't know if he wants to do anything with that. He's got Broncos on his bench who have shown to be very good, and obviously Oakland's offense has been struggling, so that might be a thing to do. Uh, Jarvis Landry in his flex is pretty interesting because it looked like the Dolphins were going to be great in week 2. Jay Cutler had the offense rolling, they won, and then week 3 came around and they lost to the Jets, and it looked pretty bad. They have a chance to redeem themselves going against New Orleans, whose defense isn't the greatest. But I mean, do you think there's anything holding Jarvis back since Jay's his quarterback?
Definitely not holding him back just because Jay really, if you watch these Dolphins game, Jay really favors going to Landry. I mean, you can obviously see it in his not only his targets but his receptions. 13 in week 2, had 6 in that week 3 loss. But you got to look at that situation that they were in. They just couldn't really get anything going, and it's just really a good sign to see that the basically the minimum that Jarvis Landry is going to score you week to week is, around like 10 to 12 points in fantasy just because he gets targeted so often and we're in a PPR league and that's just such a really good commodity that he has a receiver that, is getting 13 receptions over a 2-week span.
Yeah, if we go back to last week, I gave JP a little advice or maybe a little I don't know a little thing I thought of I don't know because he has two great quarterbacks Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford obviously. Uh, Now Matthew Stafford has outscored Matt Ryan in fantasy 2 of the 3 weeks. With Matthew Stafford going against Minnesota and Matt Ryan going against Buffalo, is there any way you're leaning? I'm still kind of leaning towards Ryan, but I still think Stafford's the long term option. Um, I don't know it, I still don't think he should have both on his bench. I mean, the Colin Kaepernick thing, he still has Kaepernick on his bench, which I'm not. I'm just gonna be done talking about that for this week because I don't think JP is gonna change that. But do you think Stafford and Ryan? Do you think he should keep both of them, or do you think he should lean and just stick with one?
Yeah, I swear I'm going to talk about this one more time, but again, you're just seeing it with these top teams. They're just not having good in-season management. I mean, I know you need a backup quarterback and whatnot, but I'm a real big believer in streaming quarterbacks when they have their bye weeks. And you've got arguably a top 10 quarterback on your bench in Matthew Stafford, and you're not making any moves to move him. And guys that need quarterbacks, Team Rich needs a quarterback who he's playing. Like just an example like that. Like you can deal these guys away and
Speaking of
package them
deal,
in.
speaking of deal, Ben Roethlisberger maybe work something out to get Kareem Hunt. I don't know. You got a lot of talent, JP, on your team. You package that talent with Matthew Stafford. Team deal might be willing to make a trade with you, so that's something to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I just I see it every time that there's either I wouldn't even just say new players in the Gridiron Fantasy Football League, but just like even the veteran players sometimes, these guys that constantly miss the playoffs. I mean, you finally got a team that could definitely make that leap to potentially go for not even a playoff appearance, but a ring, and you're just not doing anything. I mean, you've got Darren Sproles, who's, done for the year, tore his ACL and broke his arm. He's still on your bench. You've got, DeAndre Washington for the Raiders. I mean, there's just there's no reason that Colin Kaepernick should be on your team right now. That is fucking blasphemous. You've got so many bench spots that you could use. Kenny Britt doesn't even I don't even know, does he start for the Browns?
He does,
You've got
and
Deshaun
he's pretty bad.
you've got Deshaun Kaiser. The Browns were thinking about benching Kenny Britt. I don't know if they ever pulled the trigger or not, but I've heard several reports of them trying to bench Kenny Britt, and I mean, two good, I wouldn't even say players because the Broncos defense is a player, but you've got two people on your bench. You got the Broncos D and Amir Abdullah, and you got to do something to get your bench better. These bye weeks that are going to happen later in the year, it's you're going to lose 2-3 games because of this situation. And when this comes to seeding, you're going to go from playing a 6 seed to playing a 3 seed in the first week of the playoffs, and you just don't want to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree with you that Broncos and Amir Abdullah are not the only talent that's on his bench. Well, obviously Matthew Stafford, but something needs to be had. Something needs to happen with him. It's just I don't know. I mean, I think Austin Rich has a real good chance of winning this game. JP's team is pretty good, but I mean, his running backs I think are going to be stifled by these teams. I mean, if you look what the Jets did last week, just shut down the rush offense, and then Green Bay does not let rush offense go, especially with that front box, with Clay Matthews and all those guys they got, and then Delaney Walker has been surprising me thus far. I usually just hate Delaney Walker. I think he's terrible, but he's actually doing pretty well. JP, I mean, that's a pretty good tight end, honestly, but you're going against Gronk, and I mean, Rich has to get rid of Amendola. If Rich keeps Amendola in, I don't think he's not going to get really any points. I mean, Amendola's not been producing. It's been Chris Hogan and the Brandon Cook show in New England thus far. So you got to think about that. I mean, if we have nothing else really to say, I guess we can go right into predictions. You got anything else?
I just want to add one more point. JP, if you're watching this, just please do something. Don't just sit here and just watch your team fall apart in the end. Because I'm telling you right now, your team looks good right now, and you're gonna be masked by that. But honestly, you've got to do something. I keep pointing back to that Zach Hughes every year,
Yeah.
just because his team was so on top of the world. He was first in the league in points for by over 80 points. He was 7-0. He was just looking to, even if he fell apart, he was looking to still make the low end playoffs, and he just completely fell out of the race. And you've got to do something. Like, just please do something about this team.
Yeah, I agree, and I hate to say it, but next week when we do the show again, we'll probably be saying the same stuff about JP's team, but hopefully not. I don't know. Do you want to lead off the predictions, or you want me to start?
Yeah, I'll lead off. So just looking at these matchups, just seeing what each team really brings to the table. I don't really like the way Dak Prescott has been playing necessarily. Um, I know he's playing well against the Arizona Cardinals as we're doing the show. Um, but he's just not a guy in my eyes that I really see that's going to be a real strong point in your on your team. He's definitely going to be a consistent guy. He's going to be a low end, quarterback too. Frank Gore's got somewhat I I'd say somewhat a tough matchup because it's the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to be kind of scared to go into the 12th man. It's just I don't really like the situation that Frank Gore is going in. I know the defense has struggled against the run, but I just don't really
Yeah, I
guy.
agree.
Really good matchup. And of course you got Gronk. So Gronk's pretty much matchup proof, and Tom Brady as well. Um,
Yeah.
so through these points, I think it's going to be close. I don't want to. I can't pull the trigger on a hot take again, but I'm gonna say that JP Salopek wins week 4. I'm gonna say 111 to 101.
Okay. You just can't have Deal and Austin win in the same week, I guess, right? But I think I am gonna pick Austin to win this game. I think his team's gonna come out. I like his matchups, honestly. I think I think Dak Prescott's gonna have a bounce back game. That Denver game was kind of a fluke. I think he threw 2 picks. That defense is really strong. He's going against the Rams now, who have a pretty good defense, but I think the Dallas' offense is gonna start getting rolling farther into the season now. Um, and I like Dak Prescott to go off again. I'm going to have Rich win in this game. I think it's going to be under 100. I think JP's team's going to struggle a little bit. I'm going to have Rich win in 95 to 87. I think both teams are just going to struggle, and I think it'll just be a battle of who's going to just get that last couple points, in the Sunday night game or the Monday night game, stuff like that. So, I don't know. We'll see. All right.
Yeah, I definitely like that prediction. I mean, I'm not bold enough to pull the trigger,
All right.
but you definitely could see it. I'm just gonna reiterate and just say that, he's got definitely us Team Rich has enough of a situation where he has the upside because of these matchups, like Ajayi against the Saints. It's just whether or not he, breaks back or comes back from his rough week 3 performance.
All right. So we've done 3 games. We got 3 games left. We still have Roderick versus me, Taylor versus Muskin, who we have picked. Our fans have voted. That's going to be the game of the week. And we also have Jake Mitchell and Cole Gibson. Let's go right into Jake Mitchell, Cole Gibson, actually. This is a battle of some mid-tier teams. Mike Shady, obviously Cole Gibson's team, is coming off an astounding loss to Nathan Hensel, who in our last week's show, me, you, and Musk picked Cole to win by at least 20 points. 30 points, all of us. I had him winning by 30 points. You had him winning by 30 points, and then Musk had him winning by 40 points. So, and then he lost. Nathan got his first win, and now Cole's looking to bounce back. And then Jake Mitchell, who's also another mid-tier team, Jameis Winston as Jake Mitchell's quarterback. This is kind of tough to swallow. Jameis Winston throws a lot of picks. He doesn't really put up a ton of yards. He put up 300 against Minnesota, which is pretty good. He's going against the Giants, who are looking to win a game for once. And I think the Giants will probably win that game. And then you got Cam Newton going against New England for Cole Gibson. I mean, man, that is going to be a battle between those quarterbacks. I can't see any of them really going high into the 20s. I mean, can you see that?
Definitely not a situation where I could see Jameis Winston doing particularly well against the Giants. That's not to say that he can't, but I think that the Giants' defense is above average. and Jameis Winston didn't really play that well last week. I mean, I know he threw for 328 yards or whatnot, but three interceptions just didn't seem like his normal self. I just see him having issues again with the Giants. Maybe week 5 against the Patriots he can break out, but I just don't really see it for week 4. Cam Newton, I think, needs to be dropped. I just don't like his game. I don't like his ability to throw the ball because of that shoulder injury. He's not running the ball anymore because I feel that he's, still nervous about taking a big hit on that shoulder. There's something not right with Cam Newton, and right now I have him pegged as a low end quarterback 2, quarterback 3. Definitely probably needs to be a deal done with Mike Shady, who looked really strong earlier in the season. Um, Maybe trade a guy like performance that he had earlier in the year.
Sorry,
People
your
could definitely see that
mic
he's
cut
had that
out.
upside.
Your mic cut out. Who'd you say
Oh,
to trade?
I was just saying that trade like a guy like Michael Crabtree
Okay.
who's had a big week in week 2. I know he struggled week 3 against the Redskins, but people see that upside. You definitely need a quarterback because I feel like I know I said earlier I'm a big guy that streams quarterbacks and whatnot off of the waiver wire, but not in this situation. You need a definitive starter on your team. Now, if it was Cam Newton's bye or somebody else's bye that was your starter, then you can talk about streaming quarterbacks. But I don't like Cam Newton. In my article before the season, I wrote how I really liked his upside this year, but I didn't know the extent that his shoulder was going to bother him, and it's really shown in all of the games that he's played so far this year. So if he leaves Cam Newton in his starting line, which is definitely a no in my book, because I feel like I have him pegged for about a 9 to 11 point game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the upside even against that, bad New England defense. We just saw last week he had a matchup against the Saints where he completely, excuse my language, but shit a brick and just was not very, very effective against probably arguably the worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think you could have left him in week 1, 2, and been like, okay, let's see what he's got. It's the first couple weeks of the NFL season. He's going against the Saints, plays the Saints and throws 3 picks and only goes for 167 yards. At that point, there's something wrong. I mean, you just don't play the Saints and do that in a divisional game. I mean, that's my tipping point right there, and there's just no bouncing back from that. He's got no quarterbacks on his bench, so he's going to have to go to the waiver wire. Whereas Jake Mitchell has Trevor Siemian on his bench, who's kind of interesting, I think. I think Trevor Siemian is capable of putting up points. I mean, he's thrown a pick in every game this year so far, so I don't know what to make of that. But he plays Oakland, then he has a bye. So he's going to have to look at that. Jameis Winston obviously doesn't have a bye at all this year because he had it in week 1. Is there any chance Trevor Siemian should start in place of Jameis?
I was just about to say before we talked about the quarterback segment that I really prefer Trevor Siemian over Jameis Winston this week. I would definitely, if I was the coach of this team, I would definitely recommend starting Trevor Siemian. I know he had a bad week against Buffalo in Buffalo last week. You cannot take that into account. This man is throwing for over 200 yards every game. He's averaging, you know, about he's got 6 touchdowns through 3 games, so about 2 touchdowns a game. Like this guy, he's definitely shown that he's a gunslinger. He's not a guy that's just going to be a check down Charlie and get like a 10-yard completion and then hand the ball off the rest of the game. No, even though he's thrown 4 picks through 3 games, what that tells me right there is he's definitely not afraid to take chances. He's got weapons like Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, like C.J. Anderson in the backfield. I really like Trevor Siemian this week against that awful Raiders secondary, and I really think that he could torch him. And I just prefer the matchup over Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I agree. I do too. I think it takes balls to put in Trevor Siemian over Jameis, obviously. It's definitely going to be risky because this game I think is going to be really close. I think both these teams are really similar, and they're both in the NFC, and I think one of these teams is going to make the playoffs, one of these teams isn't. I just think it's going to be like that. I don't see them both making them. I just don't think there's enough room for both of them to make them. As far as running backs go, it's kind of interesting. They both have really strong running back ones, with Cole having LaShawn and then Jake Mitchell having Devontae Freeman. But then the running back twos, Isaiah Crowell for Jake, he still has him on his team. He's still starting him. I think it's time to start Joe Mixon. I mean, with the new offensive coordinator in Cincinnati, Joe Mixon went from 9 carries to 18 carries against Green Bay. I mean, against Cleveland's defense, he's got to put up some amount of yards. He's probably going to get touchdowns. I mean, I just think it's time. I don't see Isaiah Crowell really doing anything, obviously. He's gotten a lot of touches, and he has not done anything with those touches. Whereas Cole has Melvin Gordon, who has shown to be really good, actually, which is kind of surprising with that Los Angeles offense. So obviously his running back situation is good. And then wide receivers, it's pretty similar to wide receivers too. I mean, A.J. Green and Fitzgerald for Jake, and then Michael Thomas and Michael Crabtree for Cole. I mean, this is going to be a close game, right?
I do see this being a close game, but I just want to go back on your point about the Joe Mixon thing. I do like Joe Mixon. Obviously, they've decided to pull the trigger and finally give him those touches that I really think that his talent demands. If you just watch this guy run, he's just so elusive. He's so quick. Definitely just has that fire in his eyes when he runs every single down. I don't think that he should slot him into that RB2 spot just yet. I think he deserves flex consideration. I definitely like him over a guy like Mohamed Sanu, who he's got there right now, even though Sanu had a touchdown on 4 catches for 28 yards. It's definitely a good game, but I definitely would start him in the flex. Would think about maybe benching Mohamed Sanu, I would say, just because I like Larry Fitzgerald's matchup against the 49ers, and then A.J. Green obviously against Cleveland. Like, who doesn't like that matchup? So I really think that Mixon should deserve that flex consideration. Obviously, Crowell just isn't that putrid Browns offense that just doesn't really warrant any upside for him, just because he can't carry the ball 20, 25 times a game,
Especially
because
with
they're
Duke
never
Johnson.
winning.
Especially with Duke Johnson looking good.
Yeah, I mean, Duke Johnson obviously is going to make Cleveland lean towards a committee backfield, and that's just going to decrease Crowell's, relevancy in fantasy football. And it's going to be tough for Jake Mitchell. Maybe deal Crowell away. I don't know what you're going to get for him, but maybe someone sees his upside and gives you, a decent bench player that, you could play for the bye weeks later in the year or something. But Crowell is really not going to do anything for you going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely questionable. It's going to be tough to make decisions in this game. You're not playing. None of these teams is playing like a really bad team, so where it's easier to take risks. So it's going to be risky either way, either lineup you do. But I like Cole's lineup in this. I think both these teams have good defenses that they have. Jake with the Chiefs going against the Redskins, and then Cole with the Jaguars, who just obliterated the Ravens last week, going against the Jets. So, I mean, both these defenses are probably going to get, 8, 9, 10 points, whatever. And then the kickers are pretty similar as well. I mean, as far as these benches go, I'm actually pretty impressed with these guys' benches. There's only one injury between both of these guys' benches, and that's Derrick Henry, who's really not even injured. He's pretty much fine. So I like these guys' benches. They didn't load him up with, 3 quarterbacks. Quarterback's not even in the league. A guy that doesn't even play. The only thing I don't like is that Cole has Mark Ingram and AP on his bench, which is kind of pointless. But, I mean, I like these guys' bench. I think it'll definitely suit them when buys come around. Do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'm okay with dropping Adrian Peterson. I know the name just scares you from dropping him, but he's just not getting enough work to warrant consideration. Even if he somehow managed to muster a touchdown every now and then, you don't really have the floor needed to warrant starting consideration, even when your starting running backs or flex spot is on a bye. So I'm okay with dropping Adrian Peterson. But just going down this list, I really like all the other guys. I like Mark Ingram a little bit just because he's very consistent. He catches passes, even though Kamara's there and takes away some of his passing downs. But I really like Ingram. I'm just drop Adrian Peterson. Everybody else, good to go. I just want to note two things. Melvin Gordon is dealing with a bone bruise, I believe. It's been reported as a minor issue. I don't know if he'll have a multi-game absence, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sat this week. Um, we'll see, I guess, going forward. And then Crabtree going against Denver. That's not a very good matchup to begin with, and I don't really like Carr that week, so I don't know if that's going to be a great play. Um, but right now he has a I cannot find any information about the injury, but he is listed as questionable. So we'll see later in the week if Crabtree is still dealing with that issue. But even if he is healthy, I would suggest probably benching him for either a Pierre Garçon or Tyrell Williams. Probably Pierre Garçon against Arizona. I just see them having to throw the ball a lot there, and I really think that Pierre Garçon has really developed a connection with, I believe it's Brian Hoyer, right?
Yeah.
As the starting quarterback, yeah. So I just believe that they've really developed that connection, and even though Brian Hoyer isn't the best quarterbacks, um, he's gonna definitely make Pierre relevant just because he knows he's gonna be the go-to guy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, watch out for that Melvin Gordon injury. He's playing at 4 o'clock, so you're going to have plenty of time to know. You have no running backs playing later in the day, so you may want to think about picking up a running back that plays like Monday night or something, so you have a shot in case he is injured. So just watch out for that. But yeah, I mean, I'll get right into predictions, I guess. I'm going to peg Cole Gibson to win this game. I just look up and down his lineup, and I think it's just a little stronger. His matchups are pretty good. A lot of away games, though, which I'm a little scared of, especially with Washington going into Kansas City. That is a hostile environment and never pleasant to play in. And then obviously the Carolina going into New England. But New England's defense is just porous this year, which is really, really intriguing, and I don't understand it. But I'm picking Cole to win this game. I think both teams are gonna go above 100 points. I think Cole's gonna win about 120 to 115.
Yeah, I really like your prediction there. Um, I'm actually gonna go on the opposite end of the spectrum. Um, so you said that you're a fan of Cole this week. I understand that. Um, I really like some of these matchups that Antonio Brown Eyes' top players have. I really like AJ Green to go off for like a big 25-point outing. I like if he ends up slotting Simeon into that starting role, which I hope he does. I like Simeon for going high teens, maybe even a 20 burger as well. And then you've got Larry Fitzgerald, who, as of right now, has 11 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown for almost 30 points. And he's going against the 49ers this weekend. So definitely a really good matchup for Fitzgerald. I see the upside. I feel like Cole Gibson's team is trending down a little bit with that Cam Newton, Melvin Gordon, and Crabtree trio, either questionable or just not playing very well. And I like Brown Eyes winning this week. I have him pegged for a 117 to 105 win.
And that's Jake Mitchell winning.
Jake Mitchell winning over
Alright,
Cole
so
Gibson.
we have a couple differences. Our only agreement is that Matt Brem is going to win. Every other game we're different in, which is we'll see how the last two go. But yeah, we got two left, and we'll save the game of the week for last, obviously. So we got my game. If I can find it, here it is. Okay, so I'm playing Roderick, and I'm coming off a win against Austin Rich, albeit not a very good team, but it's still a win in fantasy, which are hard to come by sometimes. I'm sitting at 2-1. Roderick's coming off a loss against Deal, sitting at 1-2, and I guess I don't know if I really want to put my opinion on this game, obviously, because I'm playing in it, but I mean Roderick's team. Once again, he has both New England running backs, which I don't really understand. They're both not very good. And then Brandon Cooks obviously kind of scares me, especially since he's going against Carolina's defense. I don't expect him to keep Colts' defense, obviously, going against Seattle. And then, I mean, his bench. What is his bench? David Johnson IR, Andrew Luck out, Tyler Eifert out, Matt Forte questionable. I mean, Andre Ellington is looking to be a solid running back, I guess, for a bench. Cardinals defense, he'll probably start against San Francisco, but Cardinals defense isn't looking that good. and then T.Y. Hilton I think is a must start at this point. Um, you can kind of give your stuff.
Yeah, it's tough for Big Johnson because if you ever get a high pick in the draft and your player goes down, like you get like a first or second pick overall, it's tough to come back from that because you have to wait about 20 picks until you get your second round pick. So you're obviously not going to have enough like a lot of depth to begin with, and because of that injury, it's so hard to bounce back from. It's to the point where he's desperate enough to start both Patriots running backs on his roster, even though James White maybe it possibly deserves a flex consideration, but I don't even really see that really. Mike Gillislee, you have to leave in on this roster just because he's got that upside in that Patriots offense. I just it's gonna be tough. I mean, you've got the boomer bust option in J.J. Nelson, who's either gonna break off a 70-yard touchdown or do nothing for you. Jack Doyle in that awful Indianapolis offense without luck. Like I'm not really a fan when coming to this team. And on the preseason projections I wrote earlier this year, I had Big Johnson as a guy that just was going to miss the playoffs. But now just going forward because of those injuries and the fact that his bench just isn't what it should be, I probably would, if I had rewrote the projections now, would probably peg him into the third to fourth last team in the league.
Yeah, and then before you get into my team, I'm just gonna give you some uh, inside information as far as what I'm planning on doing, so you can make a little better judgment. My running back situation is pretty much has to stay the same because I only have Booker on my bench. Who I'm finally getting Booker back, which I'm happy about. He's been out, first couple weeks, and he's finally going to come back. So I'm interested to see what happens to him, what he has. Doug Martin, Willie Snead is finally back as well. Who I've just been waiting for him to come back, see what he has, see if he deserves to be in my lineup. And then Doug Martin, I'm still waiting to come back. And then the Jordan Reed injury it's hard to swallow for me because, well, I mean, it just came all of a sudden, and I wasn't really expecting it. And he showed to have some upside, getting 8, then 10, and he was getting more looks from Kirk. And then especially with Vernon Davis filling in his spot, getting some touchdowns, I'm like, all right, hopefully Jordan Reed can come back, and hopefully it's not that long. So we'll see about that. I picked up Evan Ingram in the waiver wire. He looked to be the strongest tight end. I think I made the right move. He's getting some touches from Eli out there in New York. Jermaine Kearse, I also picked up. He's probably not going to be starting. It's probably going to be Hopkins. It could be Snead. It could be Shepard. I don't really know. I have not made up my mind yet. But Julio and Tyreek are pretty much locks, I think. Tyreek may be coming out in favor of a more like actual wide receiver who's going to catch some passes like Willie or Sterling, but that I haven't really decided that yet. And then my defense is probably going to be Packers again, and then my kicker's probably staying the same. So just a little thing of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, the depth on your team is, I wouldn't say it's the best in the league. I would say that you definitely have a lot of question marks, but when all these guys come back and they're healthy, you're definitely going to see a very good improvement into your depth on your team, and you'll probably see them move up to the upper tiers of the league in terms of depth. But you've got Jordan Reed, who's obviously going to be a starter for you. But when you start him and put in Ingram, or take out Ingram, sorry, you'll have Ingram on the bench that you could use for Jordan Reed's bye week, which is he's a good second tight end. And then you've got Curse, who's been very good in that Jets offense. You've got Cohen that you said you're gonna end up benching,
No. My
probably.
running backs are staying the same.
Oh, your running backs are staying the same. Okay, so, but yeah, you've got Willie Snead, who's gonna be a really big factor in that pass-heavy offense in New Orleans. You've got right now. I'm just gonna say that you have Hopkins on the bench, who's really good. Obviously, probably gonna be a starter for you, but Sterling Shepard, who's starting to see some more usage in that Giants offense, who's just now starting to put things together. Um, Shepard's had 41 points in 3 weeks, which is pretty good enough to warrant wide receiver one numbers pretty much. And you have the Panthers defense, which is carrying them right now. It's just right now I see just because of the injuries, your bench is probably middle pack when it comes to depth. But when all these guys come back, Doug Martin from suspension, all this, I really think that you'll have a very good, you know, good enough team to make a run in the playoffs in the later, weeks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Those thoughts you have. I do like my bench, honestly. At the beginning of the season, my bench did not look to be that good, but I do kind of like it. I like the upside I have, especially. I'm really happy that Sterling Shepard finally got a solid game. 133 yards. Obviously, I'm not expecting that every week. He's probably never going to reach that many yards in another game this year, which is really surprising because Odell came back. So I don't know if it's just the number 2 cornerback for the Eagles going on Sterling instead of the number 1. I mean, because Odell also kind of went off that game, so I don't know what the deal was with that. If it was just a fluke by Eli, just throwing the ball around, we'll see. Going against Tampa Bay, who has a pretty bad defense. Sorry, excuse me. And then, yeah, as far as like Jermaine Kearse, that was just kind of a pickup on a whim. I didn't like Hopkins' matchup that week against the Patriots. He did still kind of get some solid yards, but I used Kearse just in case. He went against Miami. He didn't actually produce more points than Hopkins, but I just want to try something new. But I mean, you can, if you have anything else to say, we can go right into predictions if you want. Obviously, I'm not going to be predicting this game, but
Yeah, I really think that no matter what matchup DeAndre Hopkins is in, I feel like he's going to get his, 6, 7 catches for, 60 plus yards, which is good enough to warrant a starting spot no matter what. Because that's, he's good enough. I think his floor is good enough to where it's going to give you double digits regardless of whether or not, he's going against Baltimore, Jacksonville, any of these teams that he's facing at a later date. And if you really look at his matchups in the future, I mean, you've got Tennessee, you've got Cleveland, you've got Indianapolis, you've got a lot of teams, the 49ers, Pittsburgh, if you were to make it to the championship. Like, it's definitely a good schedule that Hopkins has, and I really think that other than his Week 7 bye, he's definitely a guy that you should start every week. I just want to go into my prediction now. I think that Big Johnson's team is just on a decline. I really, something needs to happen. You don't really have any trade bait. Other than Brandon Cooks, if someone sees that massive upside that he had this week, but there's nothing on this team that I really see. Maybe T.Y. Hilton, but
and if his
I
team
feel like
continues to lose, he's gonna have to think about trading David Johnson. If he has no chance of making the playoffs or it's looking really grim, he's got to trade him to a team that's gonna be in the playoffs and wants another running back.
yeah, but even then, I don't really see you getting much for David Johnson.
Well,
I mean,
no, you're not.
he his comeback's up in the air. You don't know because they said that it's gonna be around December when he comes back, which is right around when the playoffs start. But he could also have a setback, and I don't think some owners would really take a chance on that and give up a valuable player, for someone like that. And then you've got question marks surrounding T.Y. Hilton and whether or not, Brissett's going to keep playing like he played this week. I really just think that this team is in shambles right now. There's definitely enough time with, 11 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is left in the season to come back from this hole just because everyone's records are pretty much the same. But right now, I don't really see Big Johnson as a team that could even push for a playoff spot, let alone be a team that's in contention. So this week, I'm gonna say Dabs on the Atlas wins, improves to I believe 3-1,
Yeah.
if that is right.
Yeah.
3-1 on the year. I believe that you will remain atop of the AFC. And I really just like these matchups. I'm gonna give you a 126-91 victory over Big Johnson.
Okay. So a 35-point victory. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, as far as the David Johnson thing, I just want to real quick say, if you're a team that has looked like barely going to squeak into the playoffs or like is in the playoffs but's not going to be a high seed, I think you have to take a chance on David Johnson. I mean, I think you just have to. I mean, later in the season, obviously, you'll get more information. But if you're like a team that's going to just be a number 3 seed or a wild card team, I mean, you have to. You're just not going to be able to compete with those really strong teams, like those teams that are starting out really strong early, like Matt or me or JP or Musk. I mean, I just think you're going to have to. But yeah, very interesting this matchup. It could be a real swing. I could go 3-1, and Roger could go 1-3. So it could really separate that AFC out and really put people on pressure. So the last game is the game of the week. You play to win the game versus trophies or nothing. Two of the more interesting players in the Gridiron Fantasy Football League. Two very strong veteran players, Ryan Maskin and Taylor Aquista. I'll start out with Ryan's team, and then we'll go to your team second. But Ryan's team, he made a questionable move last week. You could argue it cost him the game, but he took Stephon Diggs out because he knew Case Keenum was starting, but Stephon Diggs still went off for 37 points. And Ryan was very upset, and he was upset with himself. He doesn't even know. He's like, why did I do that? I'm never doing that again. Stephon's playing the whole year regardless of Case or regardless of Sam Bradford. So it's hard to take last week's loss seriously that Musk suffered. He lost his undefeated status. Now he's 2-1. Taylor's 1-2. Sorry, coming off a loss against Matt. But both these teams last week, it's hard to judge because they just lost in a very weird way. But Musk's team is interesting. His running back situation is really bad. He started Samaje Perine and Buck Allen, who I don't even think broke double digits, either one of them. 3 was Samaje, and then Javorius got 7. So, and then he has DeMarco Murray on his bench, who obviously I think is a must start this week. And then, I mean, he doesn't really have anybody else. Rob Kelly's injured, so I don't know what his deal is. So Musk is going to have to make a trade, I think, or a move. He still has Chris Carson in his flex, but I don't know about Chris Carson. That dude, I don't know. It's Musk's decision. He likes him. He'll probably keep him in. And then as far as Buccaneers defense goes, they're going to have to come out. I mean, -6 last week. That's bad. He doesn't have anybody on his bench, so we'll see what he does there. And then, of course, he's got Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, which is going against Chicago. I expect probably like 30 points from Rodgers. He's got to get Green Bay going. They've been struggling so far this year, squeaking out a victory against Cincinnati, which was not pretty. Aaron Rodgers has thrown a pick in every single game thus far, too, which is interesting. We'll see if that trend continues or not. But Moss does have a very good team. We'll go over to you, Taylor. Any inside information about your lineup or moves you're going to make?
Yeah, if you look at my lineup, I've got Mariota just leading off, and he's got a very tough matchup against Houston. Probably going to lean towards starting Carson Wentz against the Chargers, just because I really like the upside that Carson Wentz has brought to the table this year. He had I wouldn't say bad week last week against the Giants, but it wasn't a good week by any stretch of the imagination. But even on his bad week, he showed me that his floor is around 13 fantasy points because he can get the job done, running the football, passing the football, just doing whatever it takes for the team to win. And I really like him this week, so I'm probably going to go with him as the starting quarterback, even though Mariota has failed to unimpress me this year. He's been doing really well. So I'm probably going to keep Le'Veon Bell and Zeke in, obviously, just 2 top running backs. Demaryius Thomas, I've been really impressed with the way he's played this year with Trevor Siemian as his quarterback. He's shown that he's going to get these receptions every game, 5, 6, weeks 1 through 3. I'm probably going to leave him in. Odell is definitely a start for me. Now, the thing is, I don't know what I'm going to do with Kyle Rudolph because Sam Bradford is the one that likes Rudolph.
He's been struggling.
Sam Bradford and Rudolph have a really good connection in the red zone, and I really like his touchdowns that he can, score in that situation. But you can tell that Keenum doesn't really favor the tight end that much. He likes going to Diggs. He likes going to Thielen, which leads me into my flex, which I'm probably gonna start Adam Thielen out of my flex, but it's gonna be between him and him and Chris Hogan.
Yep.
Because Hogan's in that great New England offense. It's just gonna be tough because he has a very mediocre matchup against Carolina,
Do
who's
you give
arguably a what'd you say?
do you give any sort of thought to Marquise Lee, or is that completely out the window?
See, Marquise Lee, I love him. I think that he's a great fantasy PPR receiver. I don't see the upside in him compared to someone like Hogan or Thielen just because their offenses have just shown that they can actually like play well, be competitive, and score touchdowns. Marquise Lee, even though he's getting 11 receptions in 2 games, it's tough to warrant any fantasy consideration when you're not scoring touchdowns because of that offense being so I guess just not very good. And so it's gonna go Thielen as my one, Hogan as my two, Lee as my three, and then probably, Kamara, Chris Johnson, maybe a little bit of thought. But right now I'm leaning towards Thielen. Probably gonna go Thielen. If something changes my mind, it's either gonna be Hogan or Lee.
Okay.
Gonna keep probably play the Cowboys against the Rams because I really like that matchup. I think the Cowboys defense has definitely been solid this year. Might have to stream a defense, I don't know yet, but I'm not going to start the Texans against Tennessee. I just feel like they have got too many weapons there. I might end up dropping the Texans, um, just because they haven't been playing all that well this year. I know that their fantasy numbers say otherwise, but the only reason that they put up 9 against New England in week 3 was because of that
Right.
touchdown,
Yeah.
and they give it 36 points. I just I don't really see their upside. They gave up 23 against Jacksonville, which was good enough for only 2 against Jacksonville, which is kind of disappointing in my eyes. I don't really like their matchups in the future. You got Tennessee, Kansas City. I mean, you got that week against Cleveland, then you got a bye and then Seattle, and I don't know yet. Probably gonna end up dropping them just to increase my depth on my team. But as of right now, probably gonna start the Cowboys, depending on whether or not I feel that there's a better streaming option on the waiver wire.
Yeah, both your defenses. I think you probably agree with me with this, but I think both your defenses are pretty not good. I think they're mediocre to bad defenses at best. Um, the Cowboys, I mean, they're just showing not to have a good defense. They're just giving up. I mean, they're letting Arizona score on them. They've only scored double digits one week. Um, let's see, look ahead. They got the Rams. They got Green Bay coming in, then a bye, and then still some bad matchups with Atlanta, Kansas City, Washington, some gunslingers. The Texans have Tennessee, Kansas City, Cleveland week 6 bye, then Seattle, then Indy. So you really have to look at that. I don't know. I think you might just have to stream some defenses coming into the season, maybe make a trade, but trading for defense is always kind of tough. Um, yeah, man, I mean, your team is pretty strong. I still think your quarterback situation needs to get figured out. I don't even think Wentz is really the long-term option for you. Um, I think you made a mistake with going with 2 mid tiers instead of getting a high drop instead of a high quarterback. Maybe you can work out a trade with JP, with Matt Stafford or Matt Ryan. I don't know. JP doesn't really like to trade. He thinks he's superior in all aspects of the game, so it could be kind of tough. Um, but I guess I'll go right into predictions. I guess it's gonna be a fun game to watch. This is really gonna determine your season, I think, Taylor. Because if you lose this game, you're gonna go 1-3. It's going to be tough to come back from, especially in the NFC, who we've heard from numerous people that said it was skewed in Braden's favor to put all the tough teams in the NFC. And then Musk is 2-1. If he wins, he'll be 3-1. It's going to be tough, man. I think you're going to win this game. You're going to be carried by your running backs. You have to pray that your running backs are going to do good. They got good matchups. I think Musk's running back situation is going to cost him a playoff spot this year. I really do. I mean, I think they're going to cost him this whole year. He doesn't have a single really star running back on his team. I mean, arguably his best player is Travis Kelce. His second best player is Keenan Allen, who, I mean, those two players are not going to carry you in your fantasy dreams. So I think you're going to win this game, Taylor. I think it's going to be kind of low scoring. I'm going to go 90-85 in your favor.
And I just wanted to point out one more thing. This is going back to the week 3 finals. All games are in, and I just wanted to announce that team or league dictator, excuse me, is he ended up getting defeated this week by a final score of 106 to 101.
Wow.
Des Bryant in the Monday Night Football game did catch a touchdown, however, only caught 2 balls for 12 yards. And then Jason Witten, like we suggested on the last show on last week, that Jason Witten was going to eventually regress, got 1 catch for 3 yards. So in total, both players that Braden needed to put up at least
16.
at
You need
least 16 points, only got 10, unfortunately.
Man.
Zeke did score a touchdown, which helped my team out. I ended up still falling to Matt Brim by a score of 158 to 113, unfortunately. Just a really good week out of Matt Brim. Zeke had 80 yards and a touchdown, and also had 3 receptions for over 10 yards receiving. And then for other scores around the league, Chris Deal finally got his first win on the year after J.J. Nelson did not record a reception.
We'll
So
talk,
Chris
we'll talk
Deal
about
will
this
not.
in the first part of our show.
Oh, okay.
So I mean,
So
yeah, week three recap should have already been in the beginning of this show. Obviously, we're doing the show in kind of a weird order because we have scheduling conflicts. But yeah, we'll do. We just did our week 4 look ahead, kind of future predictions. We'll take a break. We'll come back with the T Quiz's power rankings. So stick around, and it should be fun. All right, welcome back. It is now time for the highly anticipated interview of the man himself, Jared Paul Salopek, head ball coach of JP Plays Through Adversity. How's it going, JP?
Good, how are you?
Not bad. Of course, here with T Quist, the co-host, and you're under investigation by the league office. I mean, how are you taking this? Are you scared that something's gonna happen? Are you pretty confident? What's the mindset?
I'm truly disappointed that the league would, accuse me of doing such a thing. I think it's just kind of ridiculous. I've always been a player with integrity, so it's kind of an insult to my name and my legacy to accuse me of something so awful. So
Right.
just not happy about it.
Now, our fans that don't know, JP is under investigation for using outside sources during the draft, and many people have come out against him. Some people have come out for him. The main argument you're using is that there's no evidence. Do you think evidence will ever be brought out against you?
I mean, it didn't happen, so there's no evidence. But
Okay.
even if there was, right, so I mean, like, the evidence, all the evidence that's there has been shown, and the commissioner said that she won't indict anybody until enough evidence is shown. So I guess it's just gonna get blown off the radar. So
Interesting.
So JP, there's a lot of controversy surrounding your name because the past couple of years you haven't been as successful as a head ball coach in the Gridiron Fantasy Football League. What do you say to your critics regarding your record now that these allegations have came out versus what it was previously in previous years?
yeah, I mean, I think it's harder to be consistently worse than it is to have one good year. So I mean, this is my good year. I haven't been plagued by injuries too much, so that helps. And, sometimes you have a good draft and you have the great team. So I think that's what I have this year. So if the critics have something to say, then it is what it is. I mean, I can't change it. So
I mean, do you think it's a fluke? Because we look at baseball, and you have players that do terrible, and then all of a sudden they go off for 50 home runs in a year, and you're like, all right, there's no way that just happened. You've been consistently bad your whole career, and all of a sudden your team actually looks pretty good. So I mean, do you think? I mean, people are gonna think that. Do you think they're gonna think that?
I mean, I don't know if you're accusing me of using PTSDs, or not PTSD, sorry.
PEDs.
PED, sorry. But no, I have not used any PEDs. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, sometimes you just have a good year. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. I just had a really good draft. So, and first of all, it's only week 3, so
True.
I could go 2-1 this week. I could go 3-0. So, I mean, it's the beginning of the season. And it's not like I've gone off or anything. So.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to address this for going forward throughout the season. If your team ends up winning the championship, being a very, very good team, going, 11-2, some ridiculous. Do you think there's going to be an asterisk by your name, regardless of being indicted or not on these charges?
Well, I mean, like, if I do go 11-2, I don't think that changes the fact that if I did cheat, then there should be an asterisk next to my name regardless. The fact is, I mean, I didn't cheat, so it shouldn't matter what my record is. If I cheated, then I cheated, obviously. So I don't think if I go 11-2 versus if I lose the remaining however games there are, I mean, there should be an asterisk next to my name if I'm indicted. So,
Right,
but yeah, I
right.
don't think that should change.
Okay. I mean, you do sound a little nervous in this interview. I don't know what that's about.
I'm so nervous.
I mean, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be nervous. But so we'll
I'm,
go.
I'm not nervous.
Okay. Okay. So obviously the commissioner is Braden Callahan, and apparently he's appointed a special investigator. Some people have thought or inquired that it's Ryan Muskrat, who's also a head ball. who's also. Excuse me.
Must have a frog in your throat,
Yeah,
Joe.
I don't know. So, Ryan Muskrat, obviously, do you have anything to say to the commissioner regarding this investigation? Anything you want to tell him?
Sorry.
Any advice
Sorry.
you want to give him?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I'm just saying, do you have any advice or anything you want to tell the commissioner, Braden Callahan, and maybe his special investigator?
I mean, the evidence that's been shown is that, I mean, I there's nothing that can indict me. So,
Right.
I mean, if he wants to indict me on half evidence, I mean, there's not even evidence in the first place. Evidence is Matt Brim just telling him that I did it,
Right.
and Matt Brim's going to say that regardless. So, I mean, the guy who you guys are accusing me of collaborating with is even like said if you would have given $10 that if he had evidence he would show it. So, I mean, there's really nothing else I can say. I'm not going to persuade him either way. Like, you can look at it and you can see that I'm innocent. So.
Oh, so you keep going back to that name, Matt Brim. I've also noticed he's had a strong fantasy season, and I'm not gonna allegate anything or whatnot, but do you think that Matt Brim is in a way deflecting this idea of yourself cheating because he has something to hide?
It's a great question. I haven't really put any thought into it. No, I think Matt Brims also has integrity as well, and I don't think he would cheat. So, no, I think he's a good ball coach. He's having a good year, better than what he's usually doing. I think there's been a lot of injuries plagued by teams in this league, so I think he's excelling right now. We'll see how he does in the future. But, yeah, there's a lot of different teams in the league right now, like the actual NFL, where they're doing better than they have in the past, so it's just shaking things up a little bit. So.
Now I just wanted to address your team going forward. Do you believe that you have a championship caliber ball club, or do you just hope that you can make the playoffs for the first time in your career?
No, I definitely think I have a championship level ball club. I have the potential to go 3-0 this week, and if I did not use the defense that I chose this week, if I would have used Denver instead of Baltimore, I would be looking really nice. I'm really confident in myself. Howard had 30 points. Yeah, our team's just looking really good right now. I just had a few bad decisions on who to put on my starting lineup. I do think if I do go 3-0 this week, it's pretty much a shoo-in that I will be in the playoffs unless I completely break down. But yeah, I do feel like I have a championship level ball club.
Last week on our show last week, T Quiz's power rankings had you at number 1, just ahead of Matt. Do you think that's the right pick? And do you think Taylor will move you down with this close game against Braden and Matt Brim waxing Taylor?
I don't think I deserve to be moved down, just because, like I said, if I would have made the right choice, I would actually had probably close to 120 points, which is pretty consistent with what I've been at, except for week 1 where I couldn't use Mike Evans and other players because of the Hurricanes and stuff like that. But no, I think Matt Brim definitely, me and him are the top 2, and Joe's close third. But if he wants to put me at 2, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to try and go undefeated as long as possible if I can pull it off tonight. So.
Right.
Now, going back to the undefeated record, I just wanted to point out that in 2014, Zachary Hughes, former head ball coach who retired after the 14 season, started off 7-0 and ended up missing the playoffs. What do you have to say about possibly having a team that could do that? Start off strong and then finish poorly.
I mean, there's always a possibility, but as a head ball coach, you just got to keep your team focused and with their eye on the prize, and one game at a time. You got to stay focused and not think about the playoffs. You just got to think about the next game. So.
And one final question that I have for you. If you end up being, for some reason, which I believe it's blasphemy that these charges are even brought up, if you end up being convicted, are you going to appeal this suspension or whatever comes out from the league, or are you going to just take your punishment and just get over it?
If I can appeal it, I definitely will. I mean, like, I haven't done anything, so I don't think I deserve to have anything imposed upon me. So I'm definitely going to appeal. If there's a way for me to appeal, I don't know what the next highest court is, except for, I don't know, U.S. Supreme Court or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to have to contact them or something. But, I mean, based on the evidence so far, I don't see how I can be indicted.
The league does have an appeal policy to where the commissioner... What'd you say, JP?
I was going to say, if I do get indicted, I don't think that it should be severe just because there's lack of evidence on all spectrums. So I don't think it's fair for me to be indicted, especially when I didn't do it. So.
Okay. Well, if there is an appeal that you want to be made, the policy is there's a board of 5 players that will hear your evidence or non-evidence against you. You'll make a couple claims, and then they'll end up deciding whether or not. It's in a way at the NFLPA where they'll decide your punishment. The league dictator, though his name is league dictator, doesn't have all the power in the league. So I just wanted to let you know that you do have options, and there's plenty of people around the league that would gladly support you in your time of need, myself being one.
Wow, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to appeal. I mean, I'm innocent, and I do not deserve to be guilty or have any charges brought upon me. So I'm sorry that I have a good team this year, and people are disappointed and irritated about that, but It is what it is.
Now, Taylor, if you don't have any other questions, I'll ask one final question, and we're supposed to have the commissioner himself on this show later. Do you think he'll take this call?
I mean, I hope so. He's the league commissioner.
Yeah, well, if he does take it and does do an interview with us, what do you think he'll say?
I mean, about what?
Just about the investigation, as far as if you're leaning guilty or towards innocent, or anything like that.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't see how you could lean any other way except for leaning towards innocent. He already said he's not going to make a decision until he gets more evidence. So, unless there's more evidence provided by Ryan Muskrat III, which you guys stated before, I don't see how he could make a concrete decision about what he actually feels is right. He can only do what he hinges upon. And I thought this league was innocent until proven guilty, which is what he said. So I don't know what he's going to say. Hopefully he's cordial about it and he's actually sticks to his word about innocent before guilty, because there's not even any evidence in the first place. So there's no concrete evidence whatsoever. It's just what he said, she said. So.
All right.
And there could be people lying about that because they're jealous or something.
Right. Taylor, you got any other questions for him?
No, it was a pleasure having you on the show, Mr. JP Plays Through Adversity, Jared Paul Salopek. I'm glad that you got in your piece, and hopefully the commissioner will put in his, and we'll have a good show to post for Tuesday.
Alrighty. Thanks for having me on here, guys.
Thank you, JP. We appreciate it.
All right. Goodbye.
Once again, that was JP Salopek, under investigation by the league office, and hopefully we'll have Braden Callahan on the show later, but we'll go to break. Thank you to our sponsors.
I mean, I don't know if you're accusing me of using PTSDs, or not PTSD, sorry.
PEDs.
PEDs, sorry. But no, I have not used any PEDs. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, sometimes you just have a good year. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. I just had a really good draft. So, and first of all, it's only week 3, so
True.
I could go 2-1 this week. I could go 3-0. So, I mean, it's the beginning of the season. And it's not like I've gone off or anything. So.
All right, welcome back. That was JP answering a question previously regarding people accusing him of cheating. Once again, currently under investigation. We finally have the commissioner, Braden Callahan, accepting our interview. We appreciate you coming on, Braden. You have any comments on that statement JP just made?
All I gotta say is the league's still looking into the situation of JP referring to an outside source during the draft. It's an ongoing investigation. We're still looking for the solid evidence that proves him guilty.
So if evidence is ended up being found and you end up indicting Jared Paul Salopek on these charges, what repercussions will be made in regards to his ball club and even his career in the Gridiron Fantasy Football League?
It will all depend really. A team will be made of 3 individuals selected at random to decide the punishment, and I will make sure the punishment is not too severe for the situation. So it all depends on those 3 individuals who will be selected.
And those 3 individuals have not been selected yet?
No, they will be selected when Jared Paul Salopek is found guilty, if found guilty.
Okay, and I've heard that there is a special investigator participating in this case. Is that true?
I mean, he's special in one way, but not really.
Okay.
So, what is the most severe punishment that Mr. Salopek would be given if found guilty? What in your mind, or if any, punishment has been thought of?
In my mind, strongest punishment I would give him would probably be two losses, 2 automatic losses throughout the season.
Okay. What about any possibility of, if he does end up coming back to the league in 2018, will there be a loss of draft pick as well, or is there just going to be one single punishment if he's found guilty?
His phone will be confiscated from the draft.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting. As far as people accusing JP, there's been a couple people that have come forward. Matt Brem seems to be the strongest one. Are you and Matt Brem in constant contact regarding this case?
I've talked to Matt Brem on a couple of occasions about trying to get evidence from, I don't know, this fantasy guy JP was talking to.
Right.
But that's pretty much it, because I don't have direct contact to this guy. So he's pretty much like my middleman.
As of right now, do you, the commissioner, Braden Callahan, or do you know of any evidence that supports the fact that Mr. Salopek has been, tampering with league policy under Section 15, Paragraph 5, that states that you cannot have any outside source contact you at the draft?
The only strong evidence we have right now is that he was texting before the draft, and then we have 2 or 3 eyewitnesses, saying that he was texting during the draft.
Now,
Okay.
We had JP on before you, just a couple moments before you. We interviewed him, and he said that he would definitely appeal this if he was found guilty. We don't know exactly what the appeal process is, if you already have that under control as the commissioner, but do you want to run us down anything that JP could do if he is found guilty?
If he's found guilty, he could appeal, but really, if he's found guilty, there's obviously strong enough evidence to convict him, and he could appeal his punishment. Other than that, there's really not much he can do. The only thing I would say is, if he does appeal and say he's given the next week's loss or whatever, and he appeals it, and he doesn't win, he could lose later in the season, which could affect him.
Okay.
So you keep talking about these losses that he could be found, or he could receive if found guilty, and this seems like a really severe punishment. How will you be able to implement this punishment, and what teams will benefit from, Mr. Salopek getting these 2 losses?
Um, it will all depend on. We will probably do a randomizer, an online randomizer of what games he will lose in the season. So it's not like bias or anything, and it's obviously just going to be a 1 point win for the other team.
Okay. Now, I just want to go back to what I said earlier in an interview with Mr. Salopek regarding the fact that this could be a huge conspiracy behind, Matt Brim wanting to put all the focus on Mr. Salopek with regarding to illegally, obtaining knowledge regarding the draft. And I was stating that, Matt Brim is having the best season of his fantasy career. Could Matt Brim be involved in this conspiracy regarding Mr. Salopek, obtaining this illegal knowledge?
What are you saying? You saying Matt Brim should also be under investigation?
All I'm saying is that, is there any league, investigator investigating Matthew Brim, or is he, running scot-free with speculation regarding his fantasy football league team this year?
I mean, the only reason JP's under speculation is because players have came up to me and told me that he was receiving help during the draft. Nothing has been given to Matt Brim's name of cheating somehow or some way due to the draft. His players are just having a season.
Okay.
Now, when this obviously is an ongoing investigation, is there any sort of timetable as for when me and T Quis here as the league radio show will hear an outcome, or the league will hear an outcome directly from you?
As soon as, I mean, I would give it, if I don't have any more evidence within the next 2 weeks, I will make, 2 weeks is probably the deadline, but if I find evidence before them, you guys will be the first to know on your next possible radio show.
Yeah, I would love for me and Taylor to get the breaking news alert so we can give it out to the league. We'd really appreciate that if you could do that for us.
Will do.
You got any more questions for him, Taylor, regarding the investigation?
I think I'm good to go. It was a pleasure having you on the
Well, I just want
radio
to really quick, I want to ask you how you think the league is going, Braden. As the commissioner, you oversee
okay.
everything. We're 3 weeks in. You got any favorites to win? You think your team's doing strong? How you seeing the league so far?
Obviously there's a few competitors. I'm not gonna say names or anything, but I could see possibly 4 or 5 championship teams in our league. And obviously there's the bottom teams of, you guys know who it is, but
We don't know. Who are they?
yeah, you do.
Interesting.
Just be honest here.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think there's gonna be an underdog win this year somehow. I don't think a 1 or 2 seed's gonna win it this year.
Win the whole thing, you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
How do you feel about the bottom barrel teams? Team Deal and Team Nathan Hensel winning last week and finally getting, out of the 0 win column.
I mean, it's fantasy football. Anything can happen. Because Jordy Nelson only needed me 4 points and lost me a game. So.
All right.
All right, Joe. You have anything
Still pretty
else?
bitter about that one.
That's pretty good. The league is definitely very competitive this year. Anybody can win it still. Nobody's more than 1 or 2 games out of the league in the lead in their division, so it's going to be fun. Commissioner, we appreciate it. We might try to have you on later, maybe week 10 or week 11 towards playoffs. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. Tro and Quis show, week 4, about to get underway. T Quis, how's it going? How you doing?
Not too bad, a really exciting week 3. We had a couple close games. Obviously, my team didn't perform to where I thought. I wouldn't even really say they didn't perform well. I just ran to the fucking juggernaut of the league in Matt Boss status.
Yeah, definitely is a juggernaut of the league, and we'll see where you have him in your power rankings for this week. Should be interesting. Should be some flip-flopping around. We got some solid upsets this week with two teams, bottom feeders, both getting wins, and that is Nathan and Chris Deal. So both of them finally have a win in their win column, which is good to see. The league is getting more competitive. We don't have anybody that's just completely out now. 0-3, that would be a shame. But we'll really quick do a quick week 3 recap, and we'll start off with Chris Deal's upset over Buzz Callahan. This is a game that we pegged last week for a Roderick sweep. I mean, we had him killing Chris, and then Buzz's team just didn't show up. So what happened to his team here?
I mean, you can just see in the box score that he only scored 77 points. Very disappointing week for Buzz Callahan. This was a week that going in, you really needed this win if you were going to make a playoff push throughout the year. These are the kind of games that are really important and crucial that you win. But, I mean, Kareem Hunt, Carlos Hyde scored 59 points apiece for Deal. It's just really tough to, beat that. I mean, I know Brandon Cooks did all he can to power this team to victory, but Brandon Cooks almost scored half of his team's points, and you just can't have that. So very disappointing week for Big Johnson altogether.
Yep, that final score was 85-77. They're both 1-2 now, and they are both in the AFC. So they're both at the bottom of the AFC. 4 teams tied at 1-2 in that division. So it's getting pretty close. Next game we'll do Cole and Nathan, the other upset. We had in our picks last week, we had Cole killing Nathan by like 30 points, and then Cole's team just didn't show up, only scored 96, and Nathan's team just performed really well. What did his team do to strengthen him this week?
It's definitely powered by the performances from Sammy Watkins on that Thursday night football game that everyone really wrote off and just really didn't want to watch on prime time. Tom Brady also played well for Nathan Hensel, and also a 10-reception game from Christian McCaffrey. These 3 players really powered Nathan Hensel to a victory and a really massive upset against Mike Shady. You can't really say that Mike Shady's team is trending. He had a nice win this past week, week 3, his first win of the season against Big Johnson. Looking forward to Chris Steele proving me wrong in the articles that I wrote about him going 0-13. At number 9, we have You Play to Win the Game, Taylor Acquista,
Wow.
1-2 record, averaging 104 a game. Strong week 3 performance against arguably the best team in the league, Matt Boss Status. Of course, put up 113 points to Matt Boss Status's 158, so very unfortunate. A lot can be said. There was some wrong lineup moves made. Kendall Wright should not have been starting this week. Rudolph definitely underperformed. Could have started Chris Hogan off the bench for 22 extra points. It would not have been enough, though. Matt Brim was just too strong of a team this week. But Taylor Acquista is averaging, upwards of 106 points a week. So definitely hopefully some positive moves or positive, layouts in the future for Team Taylor Acquista. At number 8, we have Nathan Hensel, 1-2 record. He had a strong 128-point week. Definitely an up-and-coming ball club if his team keeps producing at this level. I expect there to be some regression heading forward just because I don't expect Christian McCaffrey to get 20 a week. I mean, who knows? I could be proven wrong. 10 receptions is a lot for a running back, and it's really useful for PPR. So hopefully McCaffrey keeps playing well for Hensel, and that's enough to give for me to give him the 8th spot this week.
So Nathan moves up from 11 to 8, and then you move back from 7 to 9. So a lot of movement so far.
Yep, and people are going to get on me about this, but I'm the guy, man. I'm the power rankings. At number 7, I've got Ryan Maskin.
Wow.
I know his 2-1 record says otherwise. I know people think that he should be higher because of that record, but you got to really look at his recent game logs. Only scored 66 points this week against, I wouldn't say a bad ball club in Jake Mitchell, definitely a more playoff caliber team, but 66 points would not have got it done against anybody in the league. That was league worst in week 3. I'm scared of his lack of depth on his ball club. You know, you've got guys that shouldn't really warrant a bench spot in Terrence West, Seattle. I mean, not Seattle's even. Sorry, or Jamison Crowder. I don't really like Matthews. I know he went off for 20 points, but I don't think that's gonna, you know, keep happening throughout the year. I'm really scared of this, you know, lack of depth. Jaron Brown, he's not gonna start him every week. Kind of got lucky getting a touchdown. Uh, Chris Carson, I know he's a big believer in Carson, but you got to be scared. I mean, he's only getting, you know, 34 yards rushing against Tennessee's defense, which isn't like a bad defense by any means, but definitely not a great defense. Um, and then at number 6, I have the team that was a heavy favorite for a 1 or 2 seed this year after a strong last season performance. We have Mike Shady, Cole Gibson. Now he had an off week in week 3. Definitely only scored 96 points against Team Hensel, who scored 128 points. Um, Definitely a week that you expected Mike Shady to get a win, and it's a bit disappointing that he has this unexpected 1-2 record. I look forward to his team moving forward after the week 3 performance. He's definitely going to, I think, be a playoff caliber ball club, but we'll see. He's averaging 108 points per game, which is very good. So you just gotta honestly shake this week off and just look forward to week 4. Now, the most underrated team in the league, I believe, is Antonio Brown Eyes, Jake Mitchell. I don't see, nobody expected Jake Mitchell to be a playoff caliber ball club. I mean, he last year wasn't really like, you know, among the elite teams, definitely an average team, but this year he's definitely stepped it up a little bit, especially since the Bengals now know that they have to target AJ Green more. It's going to be a very interesting year for Jake Mitchell. He's again 2-1 record. I believe he's just so undervalued. His only loss coming against Matt Boss status, and Jake Mitchell honestly is a team to look out for, averaging over 105 points a game
Wow.
through 3 weeks. Very impressive. I like Jake Mitchell for the number 5 spot this
So
week.
really quick to recap, you had Musk go from 7 all the way, or I'm sorry, go from 3 all the way down to 7. Big drop for Ryan. Cole stays at 6, so middle of the pack, and then Jake goes from 9. You had him bottom feeder, and he's risen all the way up to 5.
Yep, and then at number 4, I have arguably the most debatable player in the league, and probably some would argue the most corrupt, but that's honestly for your own judgment. We have league dictator Braden Callahan, 1-2 record, 332 points for, third best in the league. Definitely a consistent ball club that has championship caliber potential, especially, you know, given the cushy division that he's in this year, getting to play Team Deal, Team Rich, Big Johnson 6 times this year. He's probably a favorite to make the playoffs, if not a 1 or 2 seed, get that first round bye. He did, in fact, give Matt Boss his only loss this year. The only 2 games that he lost this year was week 3. He only lost by 5 points. And then, of course, week 2 lost to Big Johnson by 2 points. So definitely unfortunate events. His team really just did not play well down the stretch because he really needed them in crunch time to perform. Des Bryant only getting 2 catches on Monday Night Football really, you know, made the difference between Braden Callahan going from 1-2 to 2-1. So definitely a team to look forward to, and a team that has a championship potential and league dictator.
And you could argue that Braden could be 3-0 right now. I mean, he's you could argue he's been shafted week 2 and week 3, but yeah, he is 1-2, so he's got to live with that.
At number 3, I have the Italian man himself, Joe Travato, Daps on the Atlas. I really like the way this ball club is trending, definitely in a positive way. 2-1 record, you know, a top second place in second place in his division, only behind JP Salopek. Joe Travato, 351 points for. That is an outstanding number. That is over 117 points a game. It's just a really good sign just seeing how well Joe Travato's team is playing. The only thing I would be weary about is he's only given up 288 points for this year. So that's under about 97 points if I'm doing my math correctly. It's just something that you gotta, because this team could regress. You never know. You could run into a team like Matt Boss status and not get that, 280 points against to help your team power to a win during the week. At number 2, people are gonna hate me that love records, but I have Jared Paul Salopek. Last week had him at number 1 in the rankings. I wouldn't say he did enough to warrant a drop in the rankings by himself. I mean, he scored 106 points, beat a good team in League Dictator. It's hard for me not to warrant my number 1 spot to Matt Boss status for scoring 158 points, averaging just an outstanding 395 points over 3 games. That is, if I'm doing my math correctly, 130 points, 131 points around there.
Yep.
And that's just, to me, that is just ridiculous when it comes to fantasy football. Obviously, Matt Boss status' team's going to regress. JP Salopek, again, not enough to warrant a downgrade, but I had to give the upgrade to Matt Boss status just because of the way his team has been playing, with wins over Braden, Jake, and myself. 3, veteran ball clubs that aren't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you got 2 really good teams in Braden and Jake, and then an average team in mine. And, JP Salopek, it's just an unfortunate set of events to not get the number 1 spot for the 2nd straight week.
So, all right, there it is. Just to recap, the top 2 flip-flop. Matt now takes the 1 spot, JP in 2nd. Musk, who's in 3, falls really far down. I take his spot. Braden moves up to 4. That's the top 4. And then our mid-pack is Jake, Cole, Ryan, and I guess you could include Nathan and maybe even you in the mid-pack. And then the bottom is Deal, Rich, and Buzz. And there it is, week 4. That's our show. Appreciate it. We'll see you week 5, and we're out.